The French Open is here. My name's Corbin from the Parlay Club, and I've got the best bets and the plays the books do not want you knowing about. As always, drop a comment with your predictions and anything, any thoughts, any sports, anything you want me to cover in future videos. Like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff. French Open obviously starting this week. We've had qualies going on all week, which have been reasonably successful. Always good to turn a slight profit going into the first week of the French Open. Everyone knows tennis is my main, most successful sport. We're already up 45 units this year, just in tennis alone. Around the 130 mark, all sports for the year. If you want to check out that kind of stuff, look at the spreadsheet in the bio. Let's get right into it. So, the French Open is played on clay. That's the main distinguishing factor. The season split up into really kind of four kind of aspects. The first one is the hard courts, Australian Open. Then we play the clay court swing, which results in the French Open, which is this one. Then we have the grass season, which is culminated in Wimbledon, and then we go back to the hard courts for US Open and kind of ATP WTA finals with the top eight players and all of that kind of stuff to round off the year. What else? So clay is obviously completely different to all the other surfaces. It's slow. The bounces tend to, I find, stay lower, but up until a point where it's so slow that it kind of depends on the conditions and they can bounce a lot higher. The kind of difference between day and night sessions, what court they play on, if the roof's closed, all of those kind of things are really kind of important to factor in when you're looking at not just the matchup but the conditions they're going to be playing in. But the main factor is that the court's slow. You need to have clay court experience. If you're just turning up and this is your first clay court event, you're probably going to be all over the place. Certain things help, like if you can slide on clay, it just helps. Slices, drop shots, variation. It's very hard to just hit through a player, such as we'll get to that, but like the likes of like Sabalenka on the WTA that just smashes through people. This I would say is her hardest tournament because it all comes down to rallying, variance, and kind of what's the word, like the willingness to just stay in the rally and not force something. um Looking at my betting strategies is the same as always. Futures, there's huge value in futures before, but also midway through the tournament. uh Everyone that's joined me before knows early and often is the strategy to go with. I feel like for majors, first round, second round, maybe even third round, you get so many mismatches with, as I said, the likes of some real clay court veterans or people that have played it before and it suits their style. You get people playing the likes of Apelka, um, like big servers, the likes of Sabalenka, that kind of stuff, who they're so tall that sliding around is not really possible. They don't have the rally resistance. They don't have the a drop shot or kind of any variation. So yeah, early and often I like mainly favorites, but sprinkling with a few underdogs and kind of just see how it goes. As the tournament progresses on, normally tend to have less and less plays. Obviously, have doubles tournaments. They've been hugely profitable. Again, you get a top. Mainly, I like the women's side more. You get a top team that regularly play week in week out together against a team that new or not taking it seriously or just there for the prize money. There's a really good. I hate the word value, but there's great value in those kind of doubles plays. Which we will include for clients and stuff as we go on. Players preparation. This is a key thing to note during the, not just before the tournament, but during the tournament. Injuries, who's been practicing, who's been pulling out, what kind of form they've got going into this tournament. I.e., the two main ones that we've had going in Madrid, but that's played at altitude, so I don't take those kind of results too into effect, even though they are helpful. For me, it's Rome. Rome is basically a huge setup for this kind of tournament. So the players that tend to win this or go deep tend to have done really well at the Rome clay court that was just last week, I think it was, or the week before. Let's get into it. Let's start with the WTA, which is the women's side. I'm going to go for Andreeva as a long shot at plus 800. I just I think she can have a breakthrough season. She's done it at masters level. Again, I think everything's kind of in her favor with that aspect. Let's pull it up here. So we need French Open winners. So these are your top players, and I'm going for Andreeva here. So last year she reached the quarterfinal. She lost to Boisson. I think that was a huge learning experience for her, and I think that's going to significantly benefit her this year. She lost in the final of Madrid to Marta Kostyuk, and she lost in the quarterfinals to Coco Gauff. And I just think she has the skills to win this tournament. I somewhat doubt her mental attitude and whether she can hack it. She has got Rybakina and Mukova, who are in her bracket. You can also get her to win the quarter, which is the same as that. I believe she's in quarter four. You can get her at plus 175. Again, I must preface, I think the WTA side is wide open. I think 4 or 5 players easily kind of stand a chance to win. And that's really reflected in the odds here. Sabalenka, Swiatek, Rybakina, Goff, Andreeva, Svitolina, maybe even Kostyuk. Those top six, the winner is highly likely, I think, going to come from these top six. Um, Andreeva, Goff just seems. Every time I watch Goff, she's unconvincing, but she just seems to find a way to make it work. I'm still unsure how she does it, but she seems to find a way. So again, even if Andreeva's not winning, it gives you opportunities to hedge or get value later down the line. Let's go back to this. Players to fade. I've got quite a long list. Mbuku is one. She's coming back from an injury. She was so poor in Madrid versus McNally. She skipped playing Rome completely. I think she just wants to collect the money and move on. I don't see Mbuku going particularly far. Everyone's going to raise eyebrows, but I've got Sabalenka next. I just wonder if she really cares about this tournament that much. I think the French Open, out of all 4 tournaments, is the one that she cares about the least. I think she has her eyes set on winning Wimbledon this year. Uh, it, she reached the final last year, but the condition, I mentioned it before, clay is really her weakest surface, and the way that Sabalenka likes to play it, it's basically just to overpower these opponents because she's so tall, she's so strong, she kind of hits through them, and that's so hard to do on clay, which is why Goff ended up getting the better of her last year. Her form also is not great coming into this. Went out in Madrid to Baptiste, and then in Rome to Stea, and you would just not expect that from Sabalenka. Again, she may go on to shock me and win this tournament, but I think it's a until I see something different. I think we're so used to playing Sabalenka in straight sets to win 2-0. I think that kind of goes out the window, at least for the first couple of rounds. I'm off that kind of train for this tournament. Might come back to bite me, but I think she's struggling, and I don't think the motivation's there for her. A player I will be fading is Madison Keys. She only played Rome. She lost to Bartonikova. She just hasn't looked convincing all year. She lacks consistency. She's been struggling at majors since she even struggled to make it to the Australian Open when she won last time around. And I think she's slowly going to fall back down the rankings. She's another one that is kind of tall, relies on the serve. I don't think she has the same rally tolerance as some of these other players. Paolini, again, arguably her best surface, but lost in Rome to Mertens and dropped a set to Jean, which you just can't be doing if you're a top player, in my opinion. She lost to Baptiste in Madrid and also dropped a set in round one to Siegmund. Again, her serve is just not there. Her consistency can be there. She has the rally tolerance. Clay suits her, but again, at some of the prices I'm seeing quoted for Paolini to win matches or people's predictions, I disagree with that. And then Anisimova, same kind of theory as Sabalenka. She likes to hit through players. She hasn't played. I don't think she's played any clay court tournaments. I think she's just again focused on Wimbledon. I think she wants her revenge from Wimbledon last year, and I would not be surprised to see her go out early. Players to bet on: Mukova, she's a former finalist. She's beat Mertens Goff and Svitolina in Stuttgart. Although that's an indoors tournament, I take it into account less. But again, the form and history, I really like Mukova. She lost to Potapova in Rome, which kind of leads me into I kind of like Potapova. She's in great form. She reached the semi-finals in Madrid, only losing 2-1 to Kostyuk, which we'll get onto, and then losing to Pagula in Rome, which is nothing to be sorry about. Kostyuk, again, won Madrid, took time off. I think, again, Madrid's played at altitude, so I don't think she's going to win this tournament, but I think she can have a deep run. Every time I seem to bet Kostyuk in majors, she seems to let me down. But I'm going to go back to Kostyuk again, hoping that she's fixed some stuff. And then Svitolina, everyone knows I'm a huge fan of Svitolina. I think she's so consistent. She looked great winning Rome last time out. I mentioned how important that is going into these tournaments. My one problem is I hate her round one opponent. She's playing Bondar, who I don't think is great, but head to head record is all in Bondar's favour. Bondar beat her in Madrid in round one. She beat her at the US Open. It's one of those, if I'm going to bet Svitolina for the quarter or for to win the whole tournament, I need her to get through that round one matchup. She's like minus 700, so the books and everyone seems to think that she will be getting through, but it's one of those I don't like going against head to head, particularly recent head to head form like that. Just want to let you guys know, obviously, got a huge week coming up. Got the French Open, as we're talking about now. So many plays. It's my best sport. Would highly recommend jumping on for that. Got a huge UFC 5% play that I absolutely love. That goes off next week. Highly recommend, jumping on and really cashing some tickets. We're having a great year. Went 6-0 last weekend. Had quite a few winners this week. Cashed a lot of futures. We're over the or around the plus 130 unit mark. Obviously, I mentioned tennis is my best sport. I think it was 45 or so units. Profitable all bar two majors in like the last 5 years. It's really been great. Would highly recommend getting a month's pass over a week's pass, simply because it showed 2 weeks ago we had a big losing week, but made it all back this week. You kind of can't judge me or any handicapper, I feel like, off 1 week, but yeah, highly recommend. If you get a month, obviously you get the UFC 5% and you get the tennis play, and maybe sneaks into the start of Wimbledon. If not, you certainly get the start of the grass court season. If you want to join up, obviously head over to my DubClub. There'll be links and all of that stuff in the description. Promo code May gets you $15 off a month's pass. Also in the link me is a spreadsheet if you want to check it out. That's got all the recent plays. You can see what kind of plays we have during not just in tennis, but all sports. If you go back to, I think it's like mid-January, you'll see the Australian Open, and that'll give you an idea of the kind of plays and volume and what kind of stuff we do. So yeah, highly recommend checking that out. Onto the ATP side, which is the men's side. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I feel like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that I think Sinner's going to win here. Again, minus 300 may look like a gift, but it's one of those, it only takes one slip up to really bring that price down. We saw at the Australian Open he had issues dealing with the heat. That's now, I think, the third time that he's had cramping, and to lay minus 300 on a guy that's been cramping and deals with heat issues when it's meant to be like record heat temperatures in France where this tournament's being held. I can't lay, I don't think, at least right now, I don't think I can lay minus 300, but I do think he could make this look very easy. Because although there's quite a few players I like, no one is on his level in the slightest, to be honest. Quick players to fade. Arthur Thies, again, I love him. I think he's great if he was healthy. I think he could do some serious damage towards the quarterfinals. However, he just has so many fitness concerns. There's all this talk about him pulling out. He has Wawrinka in round one. He has the expectation of the French fans, and this man just can't stay healthy. Best of 5 sets, obviously being a major. If I see him and he plays well against Wawrinka, I will that will change my opinion. But as it stands right now, with talks of him pulling out, I mean, he looks like one to fade. Quickly pull it up. I think if I remember, he's still one of the major favorites. Let's go tennis odds and men's and go futures. Where is unless there he is. He's fourth favorite, and we have talks of him pulling out already. You just can't back that. We'll get on to Djokovic and Jodar and Ruud in a minute. Zverev, I always liked Zverev. I think he could easily make it. I can't remember exactly how his draw pans out, but semi-finals, finals, I think Zverev is clearly the number two, number three option. Um, I don't see how he beats Yannick, quite honestly. Djokovic is another player I'm looking not to bet. Again, same reasons almost as Sabalenka and Anisimova. The age, he doesn't have the legs anymore. As I mentioned, Clay requires loads of longer rallies and shot rally tolerance. I think Wimbledon is fully in his focus, with no Alcaraz as well. He hasn't played really any warm up tournaments. He played Rome and went out in round one to Prismic, who's a young kind of up and comer, but he really doesn't. Prismic's good, but he shouldn't be anywhere in like the top 15 kind of discussion. So Djokovic losing that raises a lot of alarm bells and questions for me. So yeah, I think especially the longer the tournament goes on, I think Djokovic energy levels deplete. And then Olga Aliassime, how this man is ranked fifth in the rankings is an absolute joke. I don't understand. He's got awful form. Never trust him on clay. Lost in round one of Rome to Navone, round two of Madrid to Blocks, and round two to Kovacic. I always get that name wrong, in Hamburg. Again, the kind of prices that I can't see it as I've got it loaded up here. But he's always a huge favourite, no matter who he's playing. I think he's one to either fade or just pass. The players I like to bet on: Casper Ruud. He's back to playing some really great stuff. He reached the final in Rome, losing to Sinner again. I think he could push in that direction. I don't think he beats Sinner, but I would him, Zverev, and Sinner are the only three that you could put anywhere near the top. I think he's in that battle for second and third with Zverev. Only concern is burnout. He's played a lot of tournaments recently. He did go out, I think it was either yesterday or today, which gives him a few extra days rest. But I quite like Rude. Jodar is a 19-year-old sensation kid. I love him. He lost to Sinner in Madrid in the quarterfinals, and then the quarterfinals of Rome to Dardari. Again, he's one I will look to back against anyone outside the top, probably outside the top 10, quite honestly. I feel like his game really suits the clay court, and I think he's so kind of consistent. I think he's going to go quite far. And then obviously Sinner is simply the best by a mile. I'm going to play him to win in straight sets almost every game. I do not see who troubles him in the slightest, to be honest. He's so dominant. I'd love to see how many people have the Sinner to win French Open and to win Wimbledon parlays together. He might go for the career Grand Slam of US Open, these two, and the Australian Open, which he's already won. Quick free play. I'm going to take Sierra. I think it's how you say it, Sierra. Money line versus Raducanu. It's about minus 160 at time of recording. Again, Raducanu is just another player that you just can't trust. She's all over the place. She's played one clay tournament. She lost in straight sets to Parry, which is embarrassing. The whole debacle with her coach that she already got rid of. Hasn't played any other tournament since the start of March. Knowing her, I'm sure there was an injury. Again, this kind of price on a natural clay court player just makes no sense. Sierra's consistent. She's got the rally tolerance. She took a set off Goff the other week. I think everything sets up, and I think this is a great price versus Raducanu. And I think I haven't checked it, but Sierra to win 2-0 is also a shout. I think Raducanu just wants to collect her check and get out of here. There's quickly another few random markets that I looked at. Um, Under 66.5 tie breaks has my interest. There was only 56 last year, and three of those came in the final with Sinner and Alcaraz. Again, as I mentioned, I don't see anyone giving Sinner that much trouble. I don't see how we'd suddenly get another 11 tie breaks from last year, so I may look to sprinkle that one, quite honestly. And that will wrap it up. Obviously, as I mentioned, if you disagree or agree with anything I said, put it in the comments, send me a DM, any of that kind of fun stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, if you want to join in on the client plays, French Open starts on Sunday. Plays will be coming out on Saturday. Going to be heavy, early, and often. Monthly subscription, use promo code May, $15 off. We got the tennis, we got the UFC, we got F1, and anything else that comes up in between. So yeah, highly recommend jumping on, and good luck.